What's up guys, Andy Ionati here from Port Jackson Productions, and today's part 2 of a 4-part audio for video series. If you missed part 1, go ahead and click up here, check that video out. It's going to go through why audio is so important when you're creating videos. Today's video is all about dialogue and how to capture clean spoken word for your videos. Now this is going to be really important because you want to take away all the distractions that your viewer might have. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, I'm going to replay the intro of this video. And the first time you hear it is going to be with garbage audio, and then you're going to hear it again with good audio. What's up guys, Andy Ionati here from Port Jackson Productions, and today's part 2 of a 4-part audio for video series. What's up guys, Andy Ionati here from Port Jackson Productions, and today's part 2 of a 4-part audio for video series. It's pretty obvious after hearing that why it's so important to have your audio on point. So how do you go about doing that? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into capturing quality audio, and today I'm going to get into a few that play the biggest role in my opinion. Those are going to be mics, mic placement, and environment. Now before I get into mics too much, I want to talk to those of you who are using cell phones to get your videos. For the most part, if you're close enough, it's going to be good enough for 99% of your videos.
This is an example of what your audio is going to sound like if you're actually using a cell phone. This cell phone's about 1.5 feet away from me.
But if you're using a mirrorless camera or DSLR to shoot your videos, the onboard mics on those cameras are absolute trash. Don't use them ever. Now that we got through that, we get into mics. I'm not going to get super into detail here. I'm more going to talk about just different kinds of mic that you can use on a good, better, best scale. A good alternative to the onboard mics on your DSLR or mirrorless camera are going to be a shotgun mic that attaches right to your camera and hooks into the mic slot. These are really convenient. They're really fast to set up and they're very directional. Whatever you point at is what they're going to be picking up the audio from. So they tend to block out some of the outside background noise. The cons to these types of mics are it's going to be really the lowest level of acceptable audio that you can get, and it might not be good enough. For example, if you're not really close with the camera, if you're really far away, you're not going to get a good recording. Moving up a little bit is going to be a lavalier mic like I have right here. The good thing about lavalier mics are you get a ton of freedom of movement. It really doesn't matter where you're standing. I could be 100 feet away and it's going to sound like I'm right next to the camera. You're also going to get better audio because they're going to be closer to the person that's speaking. Another thing is they're really easy to hide. I could hide this under my shirt or in a collar, behind a tie. You could really put them anywhere. Cons are going to be the time it takes to set them up. You're going to have to mic up each individual person. They're going to be omnidirectional, which means that they're not going to be whatever they're pointing at, they're not getting, they're just getting everything. Also, they can cut out and you can also get interference with them. Moving up to the best category, in my opinion, is going to be a boom mic with a dedicated audio recorder. Now, what I mean by a boom mic is it's typically a shotgun mic mounted to the end of a really long pole that is kept just out of frame. For example, I have my boom mic just out of frame here. Pros of these going to be, like I said, you're going to get the highest quality audio from it, and they're also going to be very directional. Cons for these are it can be the longest to set up. If you're going to be moving it around, you're going to need a dedicated person to do that, and you're also going to need to sync it up in post, which isn't such a big deal anymore. There's a lot of programs out there that will sync it up for you when you're doing your editing process. I personally use a program called Pluralize in Premiere Pro, and it's literally one button, you click it, syncs up all your video and all your audio, and you just pick the best one that you want to use. Getting into mic placement is going to be the closer you can get that mic, the better it's going to be. I have my mic right here, just out of frame, set up on a boom, and you can hear how clear the audio is. Now if I move back a little bit, you can hear how much different it sounds just from 3 or 4 extra feet away. Now you've probably seen some YouTubers or some other channels, they actually set up a mic right on the desk. It's a desktop mic, and they do this to get it as close as physically possible without having to go through the hassle of trying to set up something just out of frame. And that kind of goes back to what I was talked about in part 1 of this series, where people will accept suboptimal video for really good audio. They don't care that the mic is sitting right there because it sounds great. Now when I talk about environment, I'm talking about the environment that you're in, where you're actually doing the recording. Ideally, we would all love to do our recordings in a sound studio, but that's not really possible. For example, if you're doing marketing videos, chances are you're shooting your videos in your office or whatever place of business that you work at. And there's really no way to get perfect audio, but there's a few things you can avoid that are really audio killers, and they're really hard, if not impossible, to fix in post. Some of the biggest offenders on this list are going to be reverb or echo, wind, and just general background noise. Great way to see if any of these things are going to wreck your audio are to monitor it. Plug in some headphones and just listen before you start recording. Or if you're not really able to do that, do a test recording and listen before you actually go to shoot. Offender number 1 is going to be reverb. Now, reverb is really hard to deal with because you may need to shoot at a specific location. If that's the case, you can lay down blankets, move some furniture around, try to cover up any hard surfaces, but really your best option is going to be to find a new location. Now here's an example of reverb and what it sounds like when you try to fix it in post. Now, full disclosure, I'm not an audio engineer and I am in no way an expert at cleaning up audio, but if you're shooting these videos, chances are you're going to have to do all this stuff yourself also. All right, so this would be an example of reverb. We have a large open room here. There's no carpet on the floor, there's no coverings on the walls, no covering on the windows, and sound is just bouncing all over everything, so you're getting that echo effect. All right, so this would be an example of reverb. We have a large open room here. There's no carpet on the floor, there's no coverings on the wall. Offender number 2 is wind. Wind can be deceiving because you may not feel like it's blowing that hard, but your mic is definitely picking it up. Now, yeah, you can buy certain things for your mics that are going to help block the wind. One of the biggest things is what they call a dead cat. It's just a sleeve that fits over your mic, and it can help it out a little bit. If you really want to get crazy, they make the big blimps, and those actually help out a lot. But if you're not willing to go that route, you're really going to want to find someplace else or wait till the wind to die down. And here's what it sounds like when you try to clean up that wind in post. All right, so this next sound is one that's particularly horrendous if you ask me. It's going to be wind. You're going to hear the sound of that wind just hammering the mic. Even if it's not that windy out, it's not really that windy out right now, but you're going to definitely hear it, and we'll see how it sounds when we try to fix it. All right, so this next sound is one that's particularly horrendous if you ask me. It's going to be wind. You're going to hear the sound of that wind just hammering the mic. Offender number 3 is general background noise. Now, this one can be a little bit tough because, I mean, yeah, you can do certain things. You can unplug refrigerators or air conditioning units, fans. You know, you can just tell people to shut up.
Hey, shut the f*** up!
But you can't always do that. You can't shut down a whole building's AC to shoot this video. Or, you know, if you're shooting during business hours, you're not going to want to tell your staff to stop working so you can shoot. Ideally, you're just going to want to find a better place to shoot. If you can't do that, get that mic as close as you can. And that's the reason you always see news reporters using a handheld mic, to get that mic as close as possible, and that can cover up some of the background noise. Now here's a couple examples of just general noise and what it sounds like when you try to clean it up in post. All right, so here's another example of something that could really wreck your audio, and that's going to be just general background noise. Behind me, I have a little creek flowing, and yeah, it's a beautiful backdrop, and it could be really cool visually, but with that sound, it's going to be really hard to get rid of in post. Alright, so here's another example of something that could really wreck your audio, and that's going to be just general background noise. Behind me, I have a little creek flowing. Alright, so that's part 2. We have 2 more parts to this audio for video series. Part 3 and part 4 are going to be music and sound effects. I'm going to tell you where to get them and how to use them. So have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.